Hello, everyone. This is your girl, author Erica, podcast host of The Journey Back from Domestic Violence. And I know many of you watch my show, The Journey Back from Domestic Violence. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting me on this journey with this podcast. This podcast means a lot to me. And I get to talk with a lot of different ladies that have experienced domestic violence in one way, physical, mentally, or emotionally, or financially abused in one way or another. And I also sit down and talk with different organizations to get a little background on domestic violence. And the reason why this podcast show is so important to me, and as many of you may or may not know, if you read The Journey, you'll know that I was in a domestic violence relationship. I was in a relationship with someone for 6 years. And towards the end of our relationship, mind you that we never had any problems in our relationship that I go back and even look at, because me learning so much from talking to other ladies about signs and different triggers and everything. I went back to even think about the 6 years that we was together to see if it was any signs that I missed. And I don't think I missed anything. It was, the relationship was pretty good. He was very respectful. I can remember one incident, we in a store, he, was telling several people walking up and down the store that he loved me. But this particular day, it was New Year's, end of the year. I was working and I got sick. I had an asthma attack and I had to go to the doctor. But I was put out of work because I had an asthma attack so bad that I couldn't breathe. I was on medicine. And so I was home for 2 weeks till after New Year's. And this New Year's Eve, he went out with his friends or whatever and come back home. So we had an argument about, him being out long. He was out long and knew I was homesick. And my mom was home with me too. But as you all know, my mom is in a wheelchair, so it's not much she could do but be there mentally and emotionally for me. But I relied on him as being there to move around and do things in the house. He left with his friends, and he had this one particular friend that I really didn't care for. It was something about him. So he went off that day with that friend. So I kind of told him about it. And we first had this huge argument in my living room. He had a cup that was full of Hawaiian punch, and he pitched the cup on the floor at me. And we just got into it. And it was to the point where it was raging to where I got up and I just propped my door open to my house and was throwing his things out and putting him out. And we was arguing, he was fussing, and I was telling him he had to go. And we end up in my room. And at this time, my mom had the wheeled out in a wheelchair, and normally she would call him and he would stop doing whatever he's doing. But that particular day, it was this rage in his eyes that he wasn't even listening to my mom. So I end up going in my room because I was getting all his things out, pitching them in the hallway. Yes, I did. And he shut the door and he pinned me up against the door with his hands around my throat, knowing that I had an asthma attack, that I was on medicine. And I was like, you need to let me go. And I think the whole thing of it was that it stunned me to I just didn't know what to do. I froze in the moment because I'm like, this not happening to me. Not Erica, the girl who come from a 2-parent home, both mama and daddy. My mama and daddy been together 30-something years. All this is going on in my head that I'm pinned up against the door with someone that loved me for 6 years with his hand around my throat, knowing that I stopped breathing with asthma. And he was like, you just gonna fucking listen to me and what I say, and I do what the fuck I want to do. And in that moment, I didn't know what to do. I froze. And I was like, you need to put me down. You need to put me down. And he was like, you're going to listen to what the fuck I say. And a good 5-10 minutes, and then he threw me against the bed. And I was like, you put your fucking hands on me, that's not what you gonna do. And in that moment, I had to think, because I could have lost my mama of calling the police on him, because we was living in public housing. And I thought about it. I laid there. And I said, either I'm going to be a statistic of the girl that just let this dude abuse her, or I'm going to be that girl that fight back. And I thought about it long and hard, because I know if I would have called the police, things could have been a whole lot differently. I could have lost my house. I could have lost my mama, because I'm my mama's sole caretaker in the mix of that. And my decision was, I called the police, because I refuse to be another statistic, a girl that let a dude walk away and beat her. And in that moment, I called the police, and I made that decision to call the police. He went to jail that night, but even I called my sister over, and he actually somehow was getting one of the police officers to believe his story, his side of the story. And I was frantic. And if my sister wouldn't have been there, I probably would have went to jail myself, because me and the police officer was arguing. Like, he put his hands around my neck. He choked me. He physically abused me, and you gonna believe him? So it was a lady, female officer, that was with him and told me, don't worry, he's going to jail tonight. I said, well, your officer partner, she was like, don't worry, he's going to jail. He ended up going to jail that night. And I didn't know what to feel, because I never thought I'd find myself in that moment in a situation like that, because I just knew that never could have happened to me. Being pinned up against the door with a man hand around my throat, I never seen that coming. So we went through the whole thing of going to court. He did go to jail. He went to court, and I went to court too. And he ended up getting probation, because he never been to jail, never had a record or anything. And in the end, we talked. And we kind of said we was going to make amends of it, and we was going to try to work it out. But like I stressed to him that situation couldn't happen again. So we was going to work it out. And I let him back. Maybe a week. We talked. We sat up all night talking just to try to figure out what happened, what went wrong. He apologized, even in open court. He apologized. But one day, I got up, went to work as usual. Our thing was, he stayed home and I work. So he was the house. He was Mr. Moms, as we always would laugh about that. And this particular day, I went to work. He walked me to the bus stop, got on the bus. Nothing changed, nothing differently. We did the same routine, because we was still trying to get back and feel our way back from the situation that happened New Year's. And I went to work, and I was sitting at my desk, and my mama called me. I was like, oh, Erica, what you doing? I was like, I'm sitting at my desk doing a report. And she asked me, have you talked to him? And I was like, no, which was funny, because he would call me all day at work. She was like, oh, well, you know he gone. And I was like, gone? I was like, he never told me he packed all his stuff. And yes, he left. He abandoned the ship. I went to work, didn't tell me anything, didn't call me, didn't say nothing to me. Even when I called, he wouldn't answer, nothing. So not only that, I went through the whole domestic violence, I experienced abandonment. And all in that moment, I'm sitting at my desk trying to figure it out. did I make the right decisions? Did I do this? And why this happened to me? He abandoned me even after saying that he was going to make things right. 2 weeks went by, never heard anything, never got an answer or nothing, until one day my mama was having surgery. She had a hernia and she had to have surgery, and my mom called him and he actually talked to my mom, and we ended up talking, and he still never apologized for the abandonment. And I went on, even during that time, I seek therapy because it was just a lot for me, because I'm a girl that had both parents, and I never seen myself experience that. I was always hopeful to have a good relationship, be with someone, we gonna get married, we gonna do this, and we gonna do it all. But never seen myself in a situation of being in a domestic violence relationship and at the same time being abandoned. So that kind of took a really hard toll on me in life, to where I started experiencing my pressure was high one night, like 190 over 100, because I was just holding it all in, because I felt like I had to be strong and just keep going. But I wasn't dealing in the moment. And we have to deal in the moment with certain situations, special trauma like that. So I seek therapy. I went to therapy for a year, and actually now I still have little sessions here and there, because I still need to be talk to someone just to make sure I'm on the right path and doing the right thing. And therapy really helped me. It helped me to see that it wasn't me, it was him. It helped me to understand certain things that I didn't understand. It helped me to put away the baggage and not bring it to my next relationship. And even with being abandoned, like, that's something that I never experienced, because I never experienced being abandoned. My dad was there with me. My dad showed me love. My mama showed me love. My brother showed me love. So I never knew what abandonment was. So I had two traumas that I had to deal with as a woman in this world of being in a domestic violence relationship, a man physically harming you, and then at the same time abandoning you. And when we talk about friends, my circle is very small. Like, I don't have many friends. My mom is my best friend. And it was at some point, me and my mom really didn't talk about it, because I think it was more for my mom that she felt like because she was in a wheelchair, she couldn't protect me at that point. Nobody could protect me at that point but the police. And we didn't talk about it for a while, but I was able to, one day just sit down and have a conversation with her that it happened. So we got to move on. We got to get better. We got to get past this, because things going to get better. I'm thankful that things turned out the way they did, that I didn't lose my mama, that I didn't lose my place, because that would have been a big heartbreak for me. And going through therapy helped me to get by, helped me to know that, to take care of myself, helped me to figure out things that I didn't know about myself. I learned a lot in that time, that I had the power to make change. And that's what I did. I said all the while that I didn't want to be that girl that's a statistic that didn't do nothing about her violence. I wanted to be that girl to say, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to take my power back, and I'm not going to let you have that. And everybody don't have that strength of taking their power back. But you have to find that within yourself. I knew I still had power, but I didn't know how to use it. And I used it, and I took it back from him. Like, I wasn't going to give him the thing of walking around knowing that he did that and he could get away with it. I wasn't doing that. But I just didn't know how strong that power was, that I had to make that decision. And as I go through therapy, it was just like, okay, well, dang, I made a big decision, and I didn't know how strong I was. I didn't really know. I didn't know that would have been a changing point for me in my life. So I went through that, and going through that make me a different person. to help me to open my eyes to see that, damn, Erica, you is strong. Because some girls don't have that. Some girls don't have that power to make that decision on taking that step to putting that guy in jail from hurting them. And I took my voice back and I took my power. So that was a big lesson for me. And this is why I said the journey back from domestic violence is major for me, because I don't talk about my situation because my family didn't know. My brother was in jail. My brother didn't know. My nephew, and as many of y'all see, I post my nephew all the time. That's my king. Nobody knew because I was always kind of ashamed of it, but I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't want nobody to know. And I feel like now the more I talk about it and even putting it in my book, that people know who I am. That's me. That's a part of Erica. That's a part of Erica's story. And it's okay. Because I live with it. And that's why I love the journey back from domestic violence, because it's a part of Erica that nobody know about. Nobody don't see that part of Erica, because Erica always the happy person. Erica always the good-hearted person, but people don't know that part of Erica. And I'm okay to the point of sharing that part of Erica, that yes, Erica have been through domestic violence. Yes, Erica have been abandoned. But guess what? I still get up every morning with a smile on my face, because I know I made the right decisions. And I'm hoping that I can give other females, that other men and women that's going through domestic violence, to know that it's okay. We can get up from this. It's a decision that we can do. And I know it's not always easy, because some people are not financially stable. Some people don't have the support system. But at the end of the day, you can do this. And you're not alone with this. There's a lot of us going through this, but we just don't talk about it. And talking is a part of healing. You got to talk about it to get it out there. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, because it's a part of your story, and that's what make you great, because you're different. So that's my story. And I know y'all gonna be like, what? That's my story, and that's the reason why I'm so invested in the journey back from domestic violence, because I, Erica Roberts, was in a domestic violence relationship, and I am a survivor. And I hope anybody that hear this know that you can do this. You can get up. You don't have to stay in that place. You can make that move, because you're not alone. And it's organizations out here that can help you get. You could go to the National Hotline for Domestic Violence and call them and get help. Even if you know a local organization in your neighborhood. I have a friend, her name is Kim. She's with Quality Day Foundation in Texas, in Dallas. I have another friend here in New Orleans. Her name is Adrena. She have Aaron's Nest here in New Orleans. So it's organizations out there. So seek it and get help. And no, sis, you not alone. Or brother, you not alone in this. So I hope y'all enjoy that story. But that's Erica. And I just want y'all to know that I'm very thankful for the support that I get with the journey back from domestic violence. And I thank you.